2022. And I would make a 311 reference, but none come to mind. This is the Wrestling Inc. podcast. I'm Glenn Rubenstein, joined by Alfred Konuwa. Isa not feeling well tonight. She's at home. We'll wish her the very best and speedy recovery. But we're here tonight to talk about SmackDown and Raw. And Alfred, let's start with the top story everybody's talking about right now.
SmackDown Rampage and top story that everybody's talking about. Yes, can you imagine? That's 5 hours of wrestling. Don't trigger me like that.
I've been playing a WWE 2K22, in GM mode, so my brain is just scrambled. But yes, let's talk about SmackDown and Rampage. SmackDown, here we go.
Yes, well, the lead story is Big E. I know everybody's thoughts are with Big E. He took a very scary bump. It's a belly-to-belly suplex from Ridge Holland, where he landed directly on his head and looked very scary, was stretchered out of the arena tonight in Birmingham. He just posted an update on his timeline. He does have a mobility of all of his digits and limbs, and his fingers move and his legs feel fine. He said his strength is back to normal, but unfortunately, he has suffered a broken neck. It's looking like he's all but guaranteed to not be at WrestleMania, but what's important is that he says he's going to be okay, and he will be back. And it's just a very scary bump, Glenn, if you saw it, and really kind of took the wind out of the sails of social media from the moment it happened, because it was a very, very ugly bump.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's just painful to rewatch the clip. Glad he's okay, but he did clarify. Broken neck, he even moved his fingers on camera. Seems to be in good spirits. But, man, I hope Big E gets better soon and comes back better than ever. I mean, just this could – I don't want to speculate, but, yeah, this could have gone so much worse. I'm glad he's doing okay.
Yeah, it's too, and even the broken neck it's kind of a sigh of relief. You were hoping nothing was wrong with him, but even the broken neck is a sigh of relief based on how scary it was, and it's coming off the heels of that scary bump from Madcap Moss. So just very in short order, a lot of these scary moments that averted complete disaster. Although Big E does have a broken neck now.
Yes. And it's every fiber of my being to not say broken freaking neck every time.
Yeah. Big E will say it. I'm sure when he comes back and wins the WWE title again, he'll say he did it with a broken freaking neck.
Yes. But no, seriously, Big E, hope you get better soon. Glad you seem to be in good spirits, and never want to watch that clip again.
Yeah. No, I saw it once. That's the only time I'll ever see it.
No, absolutely. What else we got?
Well, there is backstage talk on Cody Rhodes. The saga continues. We were hot, we were cold, we were hot, we were cold. Looks like we're back to being cold again. See, what's going on with Seth Rollins, per the Wrestling Observer newsletter, is that WWE is holding off and holding out hope that maybe Seth Rollins can have a match with Cody Rhodes, but talks with Cody Rhodes after creative was told to start developing storylines for him. Talks have stalled out. They are not said to be dead. But it looks like WWE is kind of waiting until about March 14th, which would be this coming Raw, I believe. Yes, this coming Monday on Raw, March 14th, to see if Cody could possibly either go with Rhodes or a different direction. But it looks like WWE Cody Rhodes no closer to a deal than they were last week, Glenn.
So here's what you need to do, WWE, to get Cody into the company before WrestleMania. 1, sneak into his house. I don't want to advocate breaking and entering, but you need to break into his house and erase SmackDown off his DVR tonight. And second, you need to find a way to disable his access to Twitter or any other social media where he could see what they did to Pete Dunne this evening. And I think you might have a fighting chance of signing Cody Rhodes. But short of doing that, I don't know. I mean, you might have to add another 0 or double your existing offer if he saw tonight what happened with the debut of Butch on SmackDown.
I will be fascinated to know if he signs, and possibly when he signs with WWE, what he signed for, what the holdup was. This is another saga, because you had the split with AEW. You figured he'd just go back to WWE with open arms. This has some drama around it. And so Cody seems to be a man who is followed by drama for one reason or another. But in the wrestling business, it's a great thing. And I would just love to see, I hope the cameras are capturing this or whatever's going on behind the scenes with Cody Rhodes, because I'm very fascinated now.
I mean, I don't think TK wants to do it, but it would seem like giving him that Triple H-like presence in Ring of Honor would be a pretty good way to get him back into the fold. Maybe give him some upside, but we're not hearing any rumblings of that.
Yeah, I think it is more likely he shows up at WrestleMania, but we'll see. Maybe he goes and does his own thing. Maybe he starts his own promotion, which would be too rich for his blood probably, but you never know. That's what they said last time.
Stephen
exactly.
Amell can, chip in a couple bucks.
Could see it. Stranger things have happened, including AEW.
I mean,
And
let's not forget the lead singer of the Smashing Pumpkins owns NWA.
absolutely, Billy Corgan.
Yeah, I mean,
Maybe Cody buys NWA.
could. What else we got?
Speaking of companies buying one another, Glenn, shareholders
Yes.
have approved a merger between WarnerMedia and Discovery Plus. WarnerMedia and Discovery, rather, have merged, and this really won't affect AEW programming, whether it comes to TNT, whether it comes to TBS, Dynamite, and Rampage. But this is going to lead to more speculation that AEW possibly may have inked a deal with HBO Max, which is under the WarnerMedia umbrella. That's only been speculation. That was a theory behind what the big announcement would be, but people are still expecting that maybe there was a deal between HBO Max and AEW, but WarnerMedia now merged with Discovery.
Well, I think we need to take this to its natural conclusion and have Chip and Joanna Gaines with MJF and other AEW superstars going in and renovating houses.
Extreme AEW makeover.
We need those corporate synergies and Discovery. Let's get Wardlow out on a boat, like tagging sharks and stuff. I mean, let's really, really go there.
And you know what you can call it? You can call it Whose House?
Yes.
Greatest show. Good plug for Swerve Strickland tonight.
Yes.
So speaking of the WarnerMedia, another side note about WarnerMedia executives, a lot of people have been expecting the Briscoes to appear on AEW programming. They've been calling out FTR, talking about Tony Khan. People think it's a formality, but it looks like this might be a tricky situation because there is a WarnerMedia executive reportedly who does not want the Briscoes to come to AEW based on some homophobic remarks that they did make in 2013. They did apologize for it. But this said to be a sticking point within at least one AEW executive, Glenn. Not AEW executive, WarnerMedia executive, network executive.
I had to go back and look at the tweets. And at first I was, my first response was like, a lot of wrestlers have said some things. A lot of people have things in their past that maybe are unfortunate or regrettable. And after looking at those original tweets, I don't know, man. I mean, I know that they have taken steps. They've made apologies and donations, but for those who haven't seen them, they're not out there. I mean, the gist of it is that, one, there was liberal use of the F word to refer to gay people, but legitimately one of the tweets was talking about the legalization of gay marriage and then saying, if you try and teach my kid that's okay, I'm going to shoot you. This is pretty explicit hardcore homophobia, and I don't know that they've addressed that in a way that people are satisfied with.
Okay, but I've never been comfortable with the idea that, these tweets from 2013, if I thought that this is who they were in 2022, that's one thing. But, it's one of those things like the devil the devil you don't know. And there are a lot of people who maybe are gainfully employed who are able to get away with thinking like this, which I think can be more dangerous than somebody publicly embarrassing themselves with these tweets, which I'm never going to approve of. But at the same time, believe me, they were rehabbed in terms of how they thought. And, this now 10 years later, I would like to think that they've moved past this. But listen, you can't tell people how to think about things and how to take things, and this is a consequence of their actions. But, I don't think it would be fair to paint a narrative that these 2013 tweets define the Briscoe brothers.
Well, I agree with that. And I'm saying that I've known of the Briscoes for a long time. I didn't know about the tweet controversy, but I'm saying that looking at it tonight and just even seeing that this was out there was just kind of like, oh shit, this is a lot worse than some things people have come back from in recent memory. I'm saying that if I'm a Warner executive and someone was like, oh yeah, there was this controversy like 10 years ago, don't worry about it, it's all past, and then they looked at this, I could see where they might be like, whoa, we gotta dig a little deeper into this to fully understand it before we go forward. On paper, it's not great, but look, I agree there has to be some pathway to rehabilitation for stupid social media posts.
Yes, 100% on the Bird app.
Yes, there has to be. But I understand why if a Warner executive just became aware of this for the first time, this is like a really terrifying first impression to have of the talent. And look, I think the Briscoes are exceptionally talented. I will say that I think they are incredibly effective as heel wrestlers because there is something about their intensity where they are the most terrifying looking, intense MFers in wrestling. And I could see where you combine that with some statements from the past and so people could be legitimately just afraid of what they're getting into if these guys are keeping it kayfabe.
From a strictly talent standpoint, in terms of just these guys as a tag team, I've always wanted them stylistically in WWE, because in AEW they would fit in just fine. But that's the thing, you could easily risk getting lost in the shuffle, just this high work rate tag team from the South. But in WWE, they would stick out like sore thumbs, and I think they would get over if WWE gave them the chance without making them look like fools. And even if they did, they have the charisma to pull off and get over. And I just think they would stick out like anything else in WWE. It'd be a really marketable tag team for them.
Well, and to their credit, like the Wyatt family looked like a bunch of dudes acting and playing Deliverance. The Briscoes look like they will they will legitimately disappear you 100%. Somewhere in the backwoods. Very real. So yeah, I mean, I get both sides of this, but there's probably more they can do to make Warner Brothers comfortable and further rehabilitate any lingering effects of this if they've indeed changed and have more of an open mind and moved on. But granted, AEW, I would say, has been very progressive and has a huge fan base and outreach in the LGBTQA plus community. So I understand where they want to protect their track record there.
Yeah, and ROH is now owned by AEW, which is under the WarnerMedia umbrella. So now it's kind of fair to question whether the Briscoes will be allowed in ROH. So this is something to follow.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Say Ja $1.99 saying worst belly to belly, no hips in the throw at all, referring to what happened with E tonight.
Yeah, I don't want to pile on Ridge Holland at all. I know he's new, but I mean, something similar happened with Johnny Gargano in a neck injury with Ridge Holland. So very bad luck with these belly to belly suplexes. And I don't know if they need to cool it on doing that, or, I don't want to even pass the blame around, because you never know what is going to end up coming out in terms of what happened. But for a new guy, these suplexes are very, very tough to pull off for somebody who is inexperienced.
I am Air $2 saying WWE can't have Butch without Luke, the Bushwhackers. I feel like we could do an entire episode just on Butch.
Butch! Oh, we'll get into Butch. One more story before we get into the newest name controversy in WWE is William Regal took to Twitter and he denied reports that he is in serious condition. The Wrestling Observer reported this week that William Regal, his condition was more serious than he ever let on, and said that he is in a very serious condition. But Regal went to Twitter and he said, already, that's why I stay out of the rumor mill and gossip. I've just found out there's things being printed about my health. I'm healthier than I've been in many years. I talked this week to someone about things that happened to me in 2018. He's referring to the Talk is Jericho podcast, where he'll go into detail about his health issues. But he says that he is doing fine.
Well, that's good to hear. And it's great seeing him in AEW. Highlight reel, $2 saying Matt and Rent retweeted the song Love Wrestling Inc. Don't know what that's referring to.
Which song? We need to know more about the song.
Yes. We must know about the song.
Matt and Rent.
Yes. What else we got?
That is our news. Now on to Butch, baby.
Oh my God.
Butch! I'll give it 3 weeks. Everybody will call him Butch. The quicker you accept it, the quicker it'll happen. When Gunther won out and now everybody's calling him Gunther,
everybody,
I'm done with the controversy. They're going to chant Walter. There's still hangers on, but it looks like Gunther's going to win out. So it looks like Pete Dunne is Butch now.
Yes. Pete Dunne is Butch in the Peaky Blinders gang with Sheamus and Ridge Holland. Oh my God. Brock Lesnar was there, opened up SmackDown tonight.
Yes.
Called out Reigns. We saw footage of Madison Square Garden with Roman interfering in Brock's match. Reigns not there tonight. Paul Heyman came out instead. And yeah, man, they're building this towards Mania. What'd you think?
I thought it was fine. I'm glad they kept it short and got the Brock Lesnar chasing Paul Heyman out of the building. That's what should have happened, because he's all pissed off. And a lot of heat for Roman Reigns not being there. When I was in LA and they came here, they announced that Roman Reigns wouldn't be there at the top of the show, and it got like some of the biggest heat of the night. And I felt like this was the same kind of night where he said it, Roman won't be here, and people don't like that.
Yeah. I liked Paul being chased through the backstage. That was nice.
Yeah. He was very funny, and I like how Pat McAfee said that he was sharting or squirting while running through the halls.
I like Pat McAfee. He has the energy. Have you ever had like a small child try and tell you a story and they're just very excited and they zig and zag in a million different directions?
Yes.
Yeah, that's Pat McAfee in a nutshell. And I wish I still had that energy.
No, it's very infectious. I like the energy that he brings to SmackDown. It hasn't been like that in a while. I think he's kind of on. I think he's an upgrade from Corey Graves, but I think I still enjoy Corey Graves' work. That's just me speaking as to how highly I think of Pat McAfee's work.
Yeah, Pat's very good. He's been a great addition, very energetic on Fridays. But no, I think Paul being chased around was good. The stuff with him and Brock is good. It keeps it all in play for the Mania match. I mean, I think there's a lot of directions they can go in this. But yeah, it's weird not having Roman have a bigger presence, and it's interesting having Brock just show up to do stuff like this. I wonder, did he Brock had to have wrestled a dark match tonight for the crowd?
No, I think once
Really?
he ran out of that building, he got the hell out of there. You got to pay for that. Like if Brock does a dark match, has to stick around. There's probably something in his contract that says he makes another $1 million.
Yeah,
Brock's
like
about
for
his money.
Yeah, it's like for every moment he's in the building, it's probably like 50 grand. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. But no, I thought this was a hot opening to the show. Tonight we got some super chats. Say Job Buck 99 saying he'll pile on. Ridge is either hurt or hurting. I mean, I looked at that and I don't know enough to even analyze what went wrong in there. It seemed like Big E didn't have the opportunity to tuck before hitting with the trajectory of it, but I'm sure smarter people than us will do an in-depth analysis of what went wrong. But look, who's at fault is like so minuscule compared to the big story, which is Big E is okay and has full movement.
Yeah, and I hope there is no heat. I mean, I know wrestling works in mysterious ways, and sometimes if you're seen as at fault, there's heat, and it's understandable that there's this ecosystem, but I really don't think it's too fair to just kind of point blame and make it about whose fault it is. And, possibly this could be a mental issue where he could lose confidence after feeling like he let everybody down. So I just think that, focusing on Big E's health should be the priority in terms of this injury.
Highlight Reel $2 is clarifying that he dropped a rap song called Hardy Boys Online.
Oh, okay. Shout out. It's a highlight reel. So blow that up. That's dope.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm assuming it's about the series of young adult novels featuring the Hardy Boys solving mysteries.
As long as they get to who solved the mystery at the end. That's all I'm here for.
Why was WWE ever clever enough to have the Hardy Boys as a tag team solving mysteries in vignettes? Because that just seems like just low-hanging fruit,
I'm surprised we didn't get something like that in the Final Deletion series. It seems like it would be more fitting for that, where Brother Nero becomes a crime fighter and it's one of his, alter egos.
As people are pointing out, I think the energy and enthusiasm tonight, it's like, big NXT
Big E could have been crippled. We're still kind of shaken up about that. Yeah, sorry that we're concerned about human life and we can't be all happy. Well, it looks like Big E's neck's almost broken. But ladies and gentlemen, let's get into the show.
Yeah, and then we had to rehash the hateful, terrible things in that Briscoes tweet, and then people are talking about oh, well, both sides. It's I really don't want to get into this, but when you start talking about legitimately killing people for different points of view, that can be a stickler for some people.
Just a terrible news day. We got a lot of bad news all at the same time, and the Big E thing is it was very scary for a while until he recently posted that update.
Yes, and then on top of that, the Pete Dunne thing. In fact, the Pete Dunne thing, alone, would be just sort of a deflating event in the world of wrestling. That renamed to Butch.
Pete
now it's still
Butch
not growing
done.
And Rampage wasn't live tonight, which we've talked about this before. Look at our energy. Look at our energy. Look at the crowd energy when Rampage is live versus taped. We knew everything that was going to happen tonight. There were no surprises there. Yeah. And SmackDown was okay. I mean, it wasn't a bad show. It was just kind of
could have done without it.
Yeah, and I hate to say that. I thought there were some good things that happened tonight, but yeah, there's not a lot of super positive, happy news thus far that we've been discussing here. But yeah, so then we did have Ridge Holland and Sheamus backstage and introducing Butch, their secret weapon.
Pete Dunne is now known as Butch.
And he re-signed a contract last year. He was done. He said, I could go to AEW. I could go back to the UK and do my own thing, or I could stay with WWE. They said they got big plans for me. I'll believe them. Oh, I'm going to go over Tony D'Angelo, my life. I'm going to go over NXT's hottest star and then onto the main roster. Oh, what pot of gold awaits me at the end of that rainbow. And it's the name Butch. And looking like they're 1930s dock workers making their way in this new country.
They look like they're all going on separate paper routes. They've all got the same types of paperboy hats. And Butch is Butch. Listen, what's going to determine whether or not
Pete Dunne looking like he just steps off the set of Newsies. Like
Tony Award winning Pete Dunne. He's coming for all the awards.
You know, Christian Bale came back from the movie version of Newsies, so maybe Newsies isn't the permanent stain on your career. But no, I think okay, so we had them going up against Kofi and Big E tonight, and Sheamus and Ridge Holland getting that win. And Pete Dunne then coming in and piling on Big E, and Big E taking that belly to belly and getting hurt. Like, yeah, this, and and then immediately, fuck everything that happened on the show after that, because we're all on Twitter looking at photos of Big E being stretchered out and looking for updates about what's going on with Big E.
Yeah, that was really kind of the dominant story, and you start seeing the pictures of the stretcher, and then it just gets a little scary until it gives that update, which was not too long ago. But, people are mad now. You think people are mad now about the Butch name. Wait until it's revealed that Pete Dunne is just a manager and is not intended to be a wrestler on the main roster. See, that's what you guys should be saving your anger for, because people are going to end up calling him Butch. If he's good enough, and hopefully he is, but I don't know if they're going to give him that chance. If he's meant to succeed in WWE, we'll see it under any name. But if WWE doesn't have any plans for him and they just make him a manager, then the name is the least of his worries.
And we were talking about this online in some tweets, because Lance Storm, like, some people were criticizing him because he was talking about like what it's like when you get stuck with a bad gimmick and, you know, that position. And I chimed in and saying, like, look at Karrion Kross and Keith Lee. You're like double screwed with creative if you're given a new gimmick that doesn't get over and you're also seen as not being 100% on board with it, because then you're the reason it didn't get over.
Yeah.
So it's like you have to take their terrible idea and be the best sport possible about it, even if you can watch it just, decaying in slow motion in front of a live crowd.
Yeah, so that's the mentality in WWE for things that get up. You look at somebody like Riddle, who just a lot of questionable decisions made with the Matt Riddle character, from Matt Riddle to what he is now, but he just followed them. He did it to the best of his ability, and now he's one of the biggest stars on that roster.
Yeah. Well, and good on the Walter Gunther thing happening in NXT. Pete Dunne might have an easier go of it. I mean, good on sarcastically, because in NXT, there's no way they're going along with the Gunther thing. They're going to troll him left and right every chance they get. On the main roster, enough people don't know Pete Dunne that Butch has a chance of sticking.
Yeah, and that's the same thing about Walter Gunther, and I could even see them using Walter as a way to get heat, and eventually, if he's able to succeed enough as a heel, I just see the Walter fight kind of dying down, because the machine is just going to get behind that Gunther name, and that machine almost always wins when it comes to things like their names. So we'll see. I want to see more about what Butch's role is going to be on the main roster, if he's going to be allowed to wrestle, because if not, and because he looks very small next to those guys. And, Sheamus is enormous. Ridge Holland is not as big as Sheamus, but still pretty big. And they both dwarfed Pete Dunne. So I don't know about his future on the main roster as a wrestler.
Night one tweeted the night commented the night so far, saying maybe they'll turn Pete into the SmackDown recapper who sells newspapers recapping the show with Street Profits recap Raw. But I want Pete Dunne in the capping extra, read all about it. Stone Cold Steve Austin responds to Kevin Owens' challenge.
Tweet all about it.
And he goes, And like Vince McMahon walks by and is like, "Hey, mister, can I sell you a paper?" I'm not going to do the accent, but I mean, we should really go all in with it. And then he and Sheamus and Ridge should be like a gang of hooligans, like in Oliver, and be like pickpocketing and like running petty crimes. Like, Sheamus stole a popcorn cart. Now they're going to go and sell bootleg popcorn throughout the arena. They'll be like a British street gang.
They're gonna have to come up with something now that they're not going to be feuding with the New Day, and this could be that thing.
This could be that thing, man. Running petty crimes, like an old-timey British street gang throughout SmackDown. That would cheer me up to no end. And maybe they've got like a song and dance number they do. Maybe Butch does the song and dance, and then Ridge and Sheamus go and like pick the pockets of the audience. Wow, it's like that Emmanuel Lewis movie Lost in London, where he falls in with a British youth street gang, and they're putting on shows and robbing people. And it'd just be good times overall. So that's what I'm saying is Pete Dunne is now the Emmanuel Lewis of Friday Night SmackDown.
This needs to go to creative. I'm glad we have that recorded. We'll write this down word for word, send that to creative, and get this WrestleMania storyline really going. I think those showstoppers at WrestleMania are really going to set the world on fire.
Emmanuel Lewis, I'd like to point out, not only is starring a hit series, have his own TV movie Lost in London, which is streaming free on YouTube, and he had a hit single in Japan for City Connection, the music of which was used in the NES video game City Connection. So really, what I'm saying is Pete Dunne should be lucky to be as successful as Emmanuel Lewis has been in his career.
You should meet Jeff Goldblum. You guys should. That was very amazing how you connected one movie to the other just seamlessly. And he's the only other one that I know could do it just as good.
We're just, all followers of Matt Pinfield on 120 Minutes who taught us how to weave these tangled webs. Sami Zayn, his phone number got leaked today.
Did you try calling it?
I did not. Did you?
I did. I got the busy signal every time I called, and I just gave up after a couple of times. I don't want to.
I like that they committed to it, that they bought him like a burner iPhone, and he's got like the screenshots of everything. I mean, this is elaborate.
Yeah, I was expecting at least that he had some funny voicemail that it could get forwarded to, but they just left it live, and people are just, I don't know if it's a landline or what.
And they put it out on TV tonight. So,
yeah, they want people calling it.
Yeah,
I can only imagine I could only imagine some of the messages, some of the voice messages. Like somebody's got the voice messages that are being left. I can only imagine if I'm working there and you're in charge of these voice messages, what I would do. Okay, listen to me, because you don't know how long you're going to have a job in that company. I would record all of them. I would download them to my iCloud, and then if I get let go, maybe they leak. Maybe some of these messages leak, because I am dying to know what some of these messages sound like.
I'm probably going to guess 25% are positive. He's probably gotten invited to a lot of children's birthday parties.
Oh, sure. I'm sure a lot of people love. Seriously, I'm sure a lot of them are positive.
Absolutely.
That's a good one.
Absolutely. I'm sure he's got a lot of other invitations of a more adult persuasion, the type of which we discussed last week on this podcast. But no, I think this was smart. This is a fun way to engage the fans in what is shaping up to be one of WrestleMania's hottest angles. And that's crazy if you think about it, because I would say, at least on the SmackDown side of things, like this is up there in terms of angles that the audience is into, that everyone online is entertained by. I think this is going to be a very, very entertaining match at WrestleMania.
Maybe that will be a segment next week. Johnny Knoxville unveils some of the hateful voice messages left for Sami Zayn.
Now, Anthony Wise, as he called it, shortly after it was posted, Sami answered and yelled, "Stop it." So maybe, I'm sure Sami has possession of the burner phone.
Yes. Or WWE in Stamford, Connecticut, some creative writer.
Yeah, maybe.
You know what would be really funny is if there's somebody that Vince McMahon doesn't like, and that number was their number. It was like some business, and they pass it off to Sami Zayn's. But now, like, I can see that happening.
Issa is saying she sent a picture of her dog. Issa's in the chat room tonight. Issa, a trooper, not feeling well, but still here with us, hanging out.
Pick of her dog. Well, that's. I hope he retweets it then. Maybe we'll get some retweets of all these messages being sent. Well, they're audio.
Yeah. But Johnny Knoxville not there tonight. Drew McIntyre and the Viking Raiders versus Happy Corbin, Madcap Moss, and Jinder Mahal. The Viking Raiders got beat down backstage. Drew was cornered in the ring. What did you think of this promo segment?
Yeah, it was whatever. If they're trying to really heat up Happy Corbin, they're slapping this fake win streak on him that he's undefeated as Happy Corbin. They're giving him the stable now, it looks like, with Shanky and Jinder Mahal. And they're trying with Corbin, but this is kind of a cold program between him and McIntyre. And it's not all Corbin's fault. McIntyre is not necessarily lighting the world on fire right now either.
I mean, it's the Madcap Moss element. If this was Happy Corbin, if this was like loser Happy Corbin, or even like smug heel Happy Corbin, I think Corbin and Drew could do a better job without pigeonholing Moss into this.
Sure, even that, though, would seem beneath Drew McIntyre, who was competing for the WWE Championship, in fact, defending it last year at WrestleMania, and has just essentially been mid-card McIntyre since, after they beat him multiple times in a main event setting with a heel. That's one way that you definitely kill a babyface. But they can heat him up whenever they want. I think they're saving him and Roman for like a SummerSlam, but that's where I see him going coming out of WrestleMania, as a program with the newly crowned champion, Roman Reigns.
Clyde P is give us a super chat to say Google Stone Cold drinking beer and click on the images. You'll never see Stone Cold the same way again. I'm not. That's a risky click, man. I'm not.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'll read your super chat, but this is gonna be like some. I'm not even gonna make a reference to what I'm afraid this is gonna be. So
too much fun.
Yeah. Anyhow, okay, so Ronda versus Charlotte, this promo tonight, kind of a rehash. This a hot angle? How are you feeling about this?
I didn't feel much about it after this segment. I thought it was fine, but nothing really happened in this segment. But then they did the thing when they went off of the air, and I think that really helped heat this thing up, because I wasn't really into this. And I think when they get to the actual match, it's going to be very good. I love their match that they had at Survivor Series a couple years ago, but I haven't really liked the build to this. But this, I think they're actually starting to do something with these two. So by the end, I was looking forward to it.
Yeah, no, the end segment was great. The end segment actually reminded me a lot of the Shane and AJ stuff they did a few years ago with that backstage fight. That did leaps and bounds to build this angle. But this promo tonight, I mean, this exchange was just same stuff they've been doing. You know?
Yeah, very. And Ronda, I heard delivery is fine, but she comes off as very scripted. Apparently, this is how she talks in real life, but I don't know, man. I think they need to work on how scripted their promos are. It just does sound like not how anybody talks.
Okay, so this was a high point. This was a high point in the show. I think we can agree that this was a great moment, seeing Naomi and Sasha enter together to face Shayna Baszler and Natalya, and they went over, setting up this match that word on the street is going to be a 4-team match for the tag team championship. But how are you feeling about Naomi and Sasha?
Yeah, I feel like they're pretty much favored to win those tag team titles. I think they're the last hope for this division. You just see with Natalya having all these random partners every couple of weeks. It's kind of a farce, this division, and they haven't really given it a chance to establish actual women tag teams. But I think Sasha and Naomi could be the saviors. I think Team Bad or Black Girl Magic or whatever you want to call them are going to be saviors of this division, and they should just give them an honest tag team title run. I think it'd work wonders.
And that's interesting, what you said about Natalya. So for the record, Alfred Konuwa is against random partners.
Yes, I'm against random partners. It has to be with somebody that you love. It has to be somebody you care about and that you see yourself envisioning a future with, because we've got to mature as adults when it comes to random partners.
Shut down the waiting room. He's looking for something serious.
Yes.
No, this match was good. I think Sasha and Naomi have the it factor like a million times over. They looked great tonight. Their entrance was great. I think this match is going to be a high point at WrestleMania, and I think their win is going to be a show-stealing moment. We'll see.
We'll see how much time they give them, where they slot the match. I think that they could maybe, because I just remember how the I believe it was a multi-women's tag match last year, and it was just kind of all over the place. And I'm not blaming the women in particular. I'm just saying that a lot of times it's with random tag team partners that aren't able to get any chemistry together. So you're going to have all these chemistry issues if you put them all together at once.
Yeah. I like what the chat's saying. Bernie DC saying, I wish they brought back Beth to team with Natalia.
Yeah.
But we don't know who Natalia's partner is going to be yet.
Yeah, Beth Phoenix would make sense because they had the pinup strong thing going for a while, but we'll see.
No, absolutely. Rick Boogs versus Jey Uso, and they pulled a trick tonight. Rick made it seem like he had an injured leg. He was all bandaged up, and Jey said, hey, you want to face us for the tag team championships? You got to beat me one-on-one in your current condition. He undid the bandage and won. So now Rick and Shinsuke are the number one contenders for the SmackDown Tag Team Championships.
Yes, WrestleMania SmackDown Tag Team Championships, very weird way to start to build it up, but they could have done worse. I'm sure it'll be fine.
Yeah. I mean, look, they're going to have a great moment at Mania. The crowd loves Rick. Shinsuke still has Shinsuke. I have to give, this is like some of the best credit you can give anyone on the roster. Shinsuke has never once wavered. He carries himself the same way he did when he debuted in NXT, the same way he did as NXT champ. No matter where his position on the card is, he acts like a top guy.
Yeah, I think he's always had that all-world charisma, and that's really helped him, even as, people would say that compared to his New Japan days, he maybe isn't nearly as good, or that maybe he is outside of his prime in terms of physically, but what really made him a star is that charisma. A lot of people can do strong style, but not a lot of people can do it with the charisma that Shinsuke has. And I think a lot of what makes him a star is all that stuff outside the ring. To this day, that WrestleMania entrance that he had, I believe it was WrestleMania 34. Phenomenal entrance. Great live entrance.
Yeah. And I'm sure they're going to go all out for their entrance at Mania, which will be good. So we got the Intercontinental Championship match. Sami Zayn versus Ricochet. Ricochet retaining, but they really gave this some time to go. I mean, this was the main event tonight.
People are really behind Ricochet. All they needed to do was just give him an inch, and these people would take it a mile. And that's what's happening right now. They're just giving Ricochet the smallest open. People know that he's talented. People want to love this guy. They just want a reason, and WWE is giving them a reason, and they're running with it. I mean, I felt like this guy was a huge baby face tonight, and he had another very, very good match with Sami Zayn. He got put over clean. I thought this was very good.
There's something brilliant about this, and I don't think they realize this enough, that if you have a wrestler who isn't great in the promo department, you can put them opposite somebody who talks excessively and too much, and then the silence of your babyface looks like strength.
Yeah, 100%. And that's the Bret Hart formula, is that Bret Hart had this way of wrestling that was going to get him over, just this natural in-ring charisma that it was undeniable, but his promos weren't as strong, so they made him the strong and silent champion until he eventually developed on the mic, and then he was an incredible heel.
Yeah. But no, I think this is good, and I think Sami is bringing out some magic in Ricochet that has not been there previously.
Yeah, they're doing a great job. They're getting behind him. That's all they ever needed to do.
And what about the confrontation between McAfee and Austin Theory at the top of this match?
No favors done for Austin Theory. I thought it was just, I know Austin Theory's a heel, but to have like a non-wrestling Pat McAfee, I was looking for it to be more of kind of a brawl. You think of the Bret Hart, Vince McMahon brawl that they have, where they did a good job of making it look like it was real, where Bret slapped Vince's headphones off, and then Vince just grabbed his shirt and they just kind of tussled, kind of like a real life brawl. And this was just like an action movie sequence with Pat McAfee just beating the crap out of Austin Theory, who's running away from him. And it was hard to believe. I thought Pat McAfee's energy and intensity was good, and they're doing a good job. The crowd was with it. It was just very hard for me to believe. And if this is the guy in Austin Theory that they're really trying to build up to be Vince McMahon's pet project, I don't think this is the way you do it.
Yeah, I don't know what they see. I mean, I guess Vince thought Finn Balor was a really handsome dude with a lot of charisma, and that kind of makes the Austin, and I'm not saying he's not, as someone who's been referred to as someone that looks like a heavyset Finn Balor. I think that Austin Theory has that similar vibe in a way, but I think that Finn's been around long enough that Finn wasn't going to be molded by Vince, whereas Austin's probably willing to do whatever is asked of him.
Right. Austin's still very young and can learn all these quote unquote good habits that WWE is going to teach them and know that they're going to stick. And also, young stars is what WWE needs right now. They need their future to be solidified. They need guys in their 20s and women in their 20s who can start to develop and carry WWE into the next generation, because they just keep going back to that part-timer well. And now we're starting to see them kind of run it dry with Stone Cold Steve Austin now coming back for what is believed to be kind of a brawl.
Man, I wish Vince was in this match.
He'll be involved somehow. I don't think he's taking any bumps, but I think Vince McMahon will be ringside. He'll be a special guest referee is what I think the direction they're going to go.
Yeah, it's interesting.
And then I think they're going to set something up to where maybe Austin comes out and gives him a stunner.
Well, yeah, and we saw that tonight, Stone Cold Steve Austin responding to Kevin Owens. So interesting how this has changed from Stone Cold coming back for a match to now, well, it's going to be a segment that's going to devolve into a fight, but it's explicitly not a match.
Right. It's a hybrid. It's going to be a comeback without it being a comeback. I think they're going to run spots. I think it's going to be kind of, I guess it was described as an action sequence. They're just going to do a couple of spots. And I think fans are going to get more than just a segment where it's a stunner, but less than an actual full-blown match.
It is the Toyota Prius of matches.
Why? Because nobody's happy and it's a terrible driver?
But it's a hybrid. Yes. We get the headline of the things we want, and then we're still stuck having to use gas half the time. Joni Shauna Jenkins, Canadian $5, saying I still can't get over how small Hobbs looked besides Keith Lee. He must be freaking huge.
He's a big boy.
Yes. Hojo to go Belinsky, $4. Butch Nuff said,
Butch!
Like, I think part of the chat room is like, I don't see what the big deal is. Get over it. But it's like a lot of people, one, it's a very easy name to make fun of. Like, it's remarkably easy to make fun of because it's kind of an outdated name. When's the last time you met someone named Butch?
I guarantee that's directly from Vince McMahon and a reference to Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid.
Not the Little Rascals? No, not Butch, who played Eddie Munster. You know, like not a lot of famous Butches, you know? And the Butch as an adjective, I think, is more popular in recent years. Yeah, it's just an easy, it's kind of a goofy name.
If Butch gets to wrestle, I think he could wrestle his way out of this. It just depends on what they let him do as a wrestler. I think people are jumping the gun, even reacting to Butch. I want to see if he's, my takeaway was they're going to use this guy as a manager, as a non-wrestling manager now. And he may not get an opportunity to wrestle.
And it is only one vowel switch away from their favorite insult to have male wrestlers call one another.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Got away from Pete rhyming with Skeet, and now Butch with sounds kind of like another thing that he's going to be called by wrestlers when they want to get him over.
Yes. So the main event tonight was very good. Ricochet winning over Sami, but then backstage, the brawl in the parking area between Charlotte and Ronda, very vicious, very intense. What did you think of this as they went off the air, finally putting some real heat and intensity behind this feud?
Yeah, thought it was good. I thought it was a good main event, but all intents and purposes, it was a flat show until this final segment. I thought they did a good job with this. Maybe they could have done this right after the segment that they did have, but I get going off in the air with this big angle. They needed really some big angle to go off the air with, I guess, for a show like this, because nothing really happened. And yeah, I thought this was good.
No, it's a very hot way to end the show. And, you know, it's going to be interesting to see how fans respond to this compared to the Raw Women's Championship match.
Yes.
Jax Callens, $2, saying tacos. Hell yeah, tacos.
Shout out to Jax.
Or some Del Taco later. Will be waiting for me when I get off the air here tonight. Get some crispy Beyond Meat tacos or something.
I like carne asada from the taco truck down the street from me. They're very good. Gordo's Tacos.
Oh, you know what's interesting? We should talk about, because it is a hot story in the world of wrestling, because it's officially out today. Yep. Did you end up getting WWE 2K22?
I have not gotten it yet. I've heard great things about it. How do you like it?
So I bought it the other night because I said, God damn it, the FOMO is going to get to me once again, and I'm gonna have to buy this stupid game. But you know, I bought it, and I'll say this. The play system is much less broken than it was in years past. Glitches still do happen. The control scheme is different. So it's weird that I have muscle memory from like the old games.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, like I was trying to do some of the same things. Like there's some subtle differences though. The graphics, for as much as we've gone over, oh my God, the graphics look amazing. The graphics oftentimes look amazing and oftentimes look way too angular and a little like uncanny valley creepy. Like everything almost needs to be a little softer.
Yeah.
With some of the facial structure, you know?
Yeah. I've seen that, especially when they do the entrances and they close up on them. You can kind of see that there's not a lot of expression there.
Yeah. But
everybody's got Botox on that game.
My GM mode is let me just say, is stupid. It is a ridiculous idea because the whole thing, like once you figure out how to do it, it's easy as can be. And it's not really that fun if you're not going to play all the matches. You just end up hitting simulate a lot of the time to see what happens. But it is weirdly true to life that it rewards you. You could have repetitive feuds that go nowhere, the same matches week in and week out. And if you go to the psychology that they have versus like cruiserweight versus giant or bruiser versus fighter, you will basically, your fans will remain flat. Your stuff will be graded poorly, but somehow you will still make money despite yourself. And that is the most accurate thing I can think of for WWE.
Yeah. Maybe it's a message that they're trying to tell you that, hey, at the end of the day, if it makes money, then we're doing fine.
And my GM, I've played it a few times now. I played the short seasons. I played the long full 50 weeks. I played it on all the different difficulty modes and was able to beat it. But there's even limits there. Like you can only have a men's champion and women's champion. And there's, singles or tag teams, Extreme Rules, TLC, tables, and Hell in a Cell. Like you don't get to really, I don't know, like it's more of a math game with your roster and whatnot and the way it works. And then it's weird when you've got people, Baron Corbin wants a bonus or else he's walking away from SmackDown. It's just like weird little developments in roster management that happen.
See, that's where they could take an advantage of this storyline mode, is they actually kind of incorporate more realistic backstage storylines like the ones we read. So somebody doesn't want to do a job or somebody's going to go to the competition.
Oh yeah. There's a little of that. For extra realism, I put Ali on my roster and didn't use him at all. And then refused to release or trade him throughout the season.
You should own a wrestling company.
But the gameplay's good. There's a lot to do in it. I have to say, this is probably the most fun I have had with one of their games since 2K16, maybe.
Okay.
That was probably the last one that I really enjoyed.
I gotta check this out. Yeah, I've heard nothing but good things about it. I think people are just comparing it to the disaster of 2K20. So now anything would have done as long as it just doesn't glitch out. But it sounds like a good game. And
the roster is ridiculous in how completely outdated it is.
Oh yeah,
where you've got the Iconics, you got Braun Strowman. When I'm in the Performance Center in the My Rise mode, it's like you're seeing HBK up there with Road Dogg, and then you've got a referee that's like, trying to tell you about conspiracy theories and saying, "Hey, can you give me a ride to the city council meeting later? I'm going to speak there." Okay, maybe that didn't happen, but it's very accurate and outdated to the Performance Center where it was like a year ago. And it's an interesting time capsule of WWE.
Yeah, well, that's why everybody should support this game, because I don't know how the royalties work, but I'm guessing that some of these released talent are going to get a royalty check for their likeness being used in the game. So a lot of people unemployed who are on this game, maybe you want to support them. Check out WWE 2K22.
Yeah, hey, Tyler Breeze was my SmackDown champion for the better part of my GM season. So let's talk about AEW Rampage. And this was taped on Wednesday. Some good stuff tonight, but all the marquee moments we kind of knew in advance. We open with Darby Allin versus Sting versus Mark Ken with Isaiah Cassidy, and pretty simple, straightforward match. But the big thing was the Hardy Boys, Jeff and Matt, making an entrance after the match. It looks like setting up something with Sting and Darby.
OG Hardy Boys. It's fishnets and everything. Had the hand gimmicks, so they look like 1998 Hardy Boys.
They look like the old dudes at the Nine Inch Nails concert, We're just, bringing it back, man. Bringing it back. But no, they look good for their age. But yeah, it's like, it took me out for a moment because, they were really old school on this.
Very much so. And so that means we got to get Surfer Sting out there too. Come on now. We got to get Surfer Sting, and he's got to cut his hair and bleach it. He's got to commit to this. I want Surfer Sting against the old school Hardy Boys. Then Darby could be there too, as
It's like baby Sting, Yeah. Actually, Darby should do the Surfer Sting, and Sting can do the Crow Sting.
There you go. There you go. You know what? That's actually a good idea.
Now I wonder if when Sting does retire, if maybe he'll transfer like his soul or essence into Darby. Like that could be a new angle. Remember they tried to do that with the Undertaker, where there's like, oh, Bray stole the Undertaker's I mean, didn't they outright say like they stole his soul or his essence? Like there was some weird thing
that's
they
what
did
was in the urn, and they even had a doppelganger Undertaker, Brian Lee. So it was Undertaker versus Undertaker, I believe, at SummerSlam '92. And I thought the fake Undertaker did a great job because when I was a kid, I thought it was the Undertaker, and then until you started hearing whatever. But even if you watch it today, it looks like the Undertaker. He has the same kind of tattoos. He works very similar to him. Nobody can duplicate how the Undertaker works, so you after a while can tell. But they did a very good job, I think, copying the Undertaker in that angle.
So what do you think of Jamie Hayter versus Mercedes Martinez and Jamie going over tonight?
It was okay. I thought they were building toward a split between Hayter and Britt Baker, but not a lot of heat behind this match, but it was all right. And a lot of it was done in picture-in-picture.
Yeah, it was good. And I think Britt being there was cool.
Yeah. So they're really building toward Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker, and Thunder Rosa getting the strap on next week's St. Patty's Slam.
Yeah. Thunder Rosa coming out to make the save for Mercedes after when Baker, Hayter, and Rebel went to beat her down. We did get backstage comments from Hikaru Shida about Serena Deeb setting something up for them.
Thought this was very good. I think, she's a lot of fire. It sounds like she's been really working because she wasn't really able to speak that much, and but it sounds like she's really done a good job, like working on her English and being able to cut these promos. And I thought she was excellent tonight.
This had a very good, quick pace tonight. I liked how for an hour-long show there, it just felt like there was a lot in it and it moved very quickly.
Yeah, it didn't move very quickly. They had a lot of wrestling on it. I thought the opening match was good in that they had a couple of crazy bumps, like the bump to the outside with the 450 splash, and it was a pretty good match.
Jackson, $2 saying, I want Alfred with a mohawk and horseshoe. Well, there you go.
I was Mr. T for a couple of years on Halloween, and I had a legit mohawk.
Really?
Oh, yes.
It's very important to do that. I was watching on my bootleg cable, the 24-hour-a-day Different Strokes channel, and I was watching the Mr. T and Little T episode. And Gary Coleman, he didn't, with the bald cap, like it really detracted.
No. Yeah, you cannot have a bald cap. You got to commit. I understand if Gary Coleman in a condition can't grow the hair, but you got to commit to these mohawks.
I know, especially if you're trying to impress Dudley's cousin. I mean, she's not going to go for that, unless you really, really go all out with it. Different Strokes has kind of aged okay. It's an interesting kind of woke show in its first couple seasons. Like the series seems like it's really about Mr. Drummond realizing how racist the world is.
Yeah. Very ahead of its time. Yeah.
Very ahead of its time from the couple seasons. But then like when Sam shows up, like, oh, it all goes to shit. Like, man, when he got kidnapped, I've never been so happy as thinking a character was going to be written off a show. But no, they found him and he made a return for that last season.
That'd be a wild way to write somebody off a show that families watch. It's just like, well, he got kidnapped. Make sure you lock the doors.
But everyone understands. Like there's some child actors that can transcend bad material, and there's some child actors that are just like so over the top annoying. It's like when and the younger sibling is the tough one. It's like when they brought in Chrissy on Growing Pains. You can't bring in. I think Family Ties is the only sitcom that ever brought in like a new child character, and it actually made the show better.
Which character was that?
When they brought in Andy and they aged him, and then because Andy was like trying to emulate Alex, so he had like the friendship with him. That was very cute. That was very well done. But yeah, when you bring in the kid, like normally that's the kiss of death. Like yes, Ultra Omega saying like the Cousin Oliver mode.
Like when the Cosby Show brought in Raven Simone, that actually did kind of rejuvenate it, and I think that's what people are going for, is a cute kid that could help rejuvenate the program before it just falls apart.
But it's failed. I mean, remember they tried to Married with Children, they tried on Who's the Boss. Even on Growing Pains, they brought in Leonardo DiCaprio in the last season, and it just didn't do anything.
It's never.
He was filming that. I watched the movie Sidekicks with Jonathan Brandis and Chuck Norris last night, and Leo DiCaprio, got Growing Pains. So we couldn't do the movie Sidekicks, which launched Jonathan Brandis to stardom.
Wow.
Yes.
Could be an alternate.
Have you ever seen Sidekicks?
No, I have not seen it.
Okay,
I've heard of it.
I thought it was about Jonathan Brandis learns karate and like Chuck Norris is his karate teacher, and that's the plot of the movie. That is not the plot of the movie. Jonathan Brandis is a nerd who has imaginary daydreams about Chuck Norris, where he's Chuck Norris's sidekick. So you see all these recreations of Chuck Norris films with Jonathan Brandis with his mullet there fighting alongside him. And then Jonathan Brandis is picked on, so he wants to learn karate. He goes to Joe Piscopo, who's playing like the bootleg Martin Kreese. in this movie. And Joe Piscopo won't, like just says, hey, get out of here, nerd. And then he gets trained by a master of the martial arts. And then in the last tournament, it turns out Chuck Norris is like a special guest at the tournament. So he gets to meet his hero and like meets him face to face. It's kind of like, it's a movie. If you thought Karate Kid was too emotionally and mentally complex, Sidekicks is the movie for you.
There's an audience for that. Is that Reddit?
Yes. I just need a simpler version of the Karate Kid.
What did this get on Rotten Tomatoes?
Oh, probably not very much. But yes, rest in peace, Jonathan Brandis. He did Sidekicks and Ladybugs in the same year. And I haven't watched Ladybugs. It's probably a lot of it's aged terribly, but I remember Ladybugs being underrated at the time. Maybe I'll have to give that another spin this weekend.
Putting over Ladybugs. Well, we'll check it out. That'll be our movie of the week review.
I like movies. And my wife was saying, Glenn, what does this say about you? Many of my favorite movies are movies about somebody pretending to be somebody else. Like I love Tootsie. I love Just One of the Guys. I love Hiding Out. I love Working Girl. I love The Secret of My Success. Even Back to the Future is kind of that. I like movies where people like take on another role to learn something or advance in life. It's a very specific genre that I love to no end.
So you're not going to watch the upcoming movie where Nicolas Cage plays Nicolas Cage?
Oh, that could be interesting. Could be like kind of some next level stuff. Anyhow, back to Rampage. It's good. We haven't completely derailed the show in a while. So this is, and last week, as everyone pointed out, did we have a gimmick? But last week was probably the single most on topic episode we have ever done of the Wrestling Inc. podcast.
Yes. The world came together for that one. Stars aligned.
It's really incredible. Keith Lee versus QT Marshall, the Stefan Urkel of AEW. Powerhouse Hobbs out there on the commentary desk. And of course, Keith Lee getting that win. But how do you think he looked in this match?
I thought this was good. I thought QT Marshall is a perfect person to work with. I think they often kind of dismiss QT Marshall as like a good hand in terms of how people receive him. But I do think he's a lot more talented than that. And I think he's a good heel and a great person for Keith Lee to work with and get over and take bumps for. So I thought the match was good. And it looks like they're angling toward Keith Lee and Will Hobbs. So hopefully they're just going to be able to keep this momentum going. They did give Will Hobbs something, so it'll be interesting.
Keith Lee looks so happy to be there, and he's doing so well.
Yeah, he's and people are into him, and they're chanting "Bask in His glory," and it's a real fun thing to do.
Do you have to just feel like you got one over on the man if you were in WWE and able to keep your real name and then go somewhere else and still use your real name?
100%. That's the way to go. That's always what you want to do first, is use either your real name or the name that you marketed on the indies. I think he was able to convince them that, some people do get to keep their real names because it was so marketable in the indies that it could hopefully make them into a bigger star in WWE. But the rule of thumb in WWE is that they want to own and merchandise your name. And that kind of reality era is over now.
Maybe Vince is thinking, this Pete Dunne guy, we can't let him leave the company as Pete Dunne and just go make bajillions of dollars elsewhere. Instead, we're going to turn him into Butch, and I will make Butch the biggest star in professional wrestling. And then if you want to leave and go back to Pete Dunne, well, that Butch name stays with me, and you're going to be in the poorhouse, Buster.
I mean, that'd be the best of both worlds for Butch, because if he did get over in WWE, he wouldn't need that name to get over on the indies. So if they fired him, or if he couldn't come to terms and he had to go somewhere else, Pete Dunne, that slaps.
And why isn't there a WWE wrestler named Buster? Because you could just have every promo go, look at here, Buster. Like, come on, Vince. If you like Butch, Buster is like a layup.
Yeah, it's only when he's talking to Vince, though, because nobody else under the age of 70 says Buster anymore.
I think Vince calls everyone Buster or Kid.
Sure. I think Vince does, definitely.
Yes. It's a good idea. It's solid. On the St. Patrick's Day Slam on Wednesday's AEW Dynamite, we will have a steel cage match for the AEW Women's Championship, Britt Baker versus Thunder Rosa. We have the TNT Championship on the line, Scorpio Sky versus Wardlow, and the AEW Champion Hangman Page and AEW Tag Team Champions Jungle Boy and Luchasaurus teaming together versus Adam Cole and Red Dragon, and then Bryan Danielson and Jon Moxley with William Regal in their corner versus Chuck Taylor and Wheeler Yuta. Alfred, how are you feeling about Scorpio Sky as the TNT champion?
I'm enjoying it while it lasts. I love that he won it. Scorpio Sky much deserves something like that. They did a good job heating him up over the past couple of months when they finally got serious about him. But in the back of my mind, I think he's getting Kofi'd next week against Wardlow, which is very sad to say. But I hope listen, they could go with this thing. MJF could come in there and cost Wardlow that title, or I'd be fine with the story being told that Wardlow wins, and now is he going to hand over the title to MJF like in his contract? It looks like they're setting up for that moment for Wardlow to win, but who knows? Maybe they'll do a feud that's not for the TNT Championship, and they'll let Scorpio run with this title for a little bit.
I think they should. I think per very valid criticisms you've had about AEW now for quite some time, I think that Scorpio Sky, Jade Cargill, I think that both their them being champions is phenomenal and just so great for their careers. Perfect timing with how over they are with the crowd. I would really hate to see this be short-lived.
Yeah, and I think they're doing a good job with this whole stable. I mean, we were complaining early on that all it was Dan Lambert cutting these promos while they're sitting there. And I love Dan Lambert, and I love his promos. Really? And I think he's phenomenal. I do think he's a great heel. And I think he's perfect for AEW because people legitimately get upset because what he says hits so close to home. And he says it with such passion and charisma. And he's really just working, but he says it with such passion and charisma that I think he's able to he's the closest thing they have to Jim Cornette where people think that he actually hates AEW. And I think he pulls it off very well. I think he's a good character. And I think he gets a lot of heat following him that I didn't think the wrestlers were benefiting from it, actually. I think my criticism with him was that he was outshining a lot of these wrestlers by being this force of energy. But I do think he's now done a good job stepping back a little bit now that Scorpio gets to kind of shine here.
I think it's just that with Scorpio, he's so charismatic. And, I've had the opportunity to meet him in person and had a few brief interactions with him. And like, he has so much charisma and just is so charming. And I just feel that the crowd's going to love this guy the more they let him do on the mic.
Yeah. And he couldn't, because they kind of split up the duties here with the mic. But, Scorpio Sky's wrestling is phenomenal. I want to see some of these matches that he could have for the TNT title. I think he's going to probably carry Wardlow to the best match. And Wardlow has been very good in terms of his progression. He's very explosive. He just needs to do that powerbomb to get over. So he's a great worker in terms of doing as little as possible and getting over. But I think this is going to be a great wrestling match for Wardlow.
Next Friday will probably be the lowest rated Rampage of all time because it's going to start at 11:30 p.m. Eastern. Maybe later, depending on how late the NCAA tournament goes on TNT.
Yes, that March Madness. I'm very excited for March Madness. It's one of my favorite times of the year in sports, but AEW is going to be adversely affected by this because it's already a tough time watching Rampage, but to have to do it with its time slot getting exploded again, never a good sign.
The first sports bet I ever placed in grade school was on a March Madness tournament.
Really? Do you remember the game? Was it a 12-5?
I remember. I think I picked Duke. Duke was mine to go all the way, and I do not think they won in 1988.
Okay. No, I don't think that was Duke. Oh, might have been. I'll have to look. They might have won in 98.
88. Because I'm old. 46. Alfred. Getting on in years. Shane Swerve Strickland versus Tony Nese tonight in the main event. And they flip this a lot of the time and give us a lengthy opening match and then a shorter closing match. Tonight, this felt like a true main event with Strickland's AEW in-ring debut. What did you think of this match against Tony Nese?
That was good. I thought it was solid. There was not a lot behind this. It's not like there was any time to build as to the actual match itself, but they kind of built this match by saying, hey, remember those matches on 205 Live?
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that's the best way to build a matchup. It's like, hey, remember that inside joke we had about potatoes? Yeah. Like, I don't know if the rest of the people are going to be in on it.
Yeah. It was a good match. I thought there was good energy. Love seeing Swerve.
Crowd chanted, this is awesome. The Who's House chant. Very black episode of AEW Rampage. A very black week. I very much enjoyed it. Every male singles title was competed by a black person on Wednesday. I love to see it in terms of the development of these characters. And I thought they did a good job with Swerve. I think Swerve's going to be a star.
It was a very good match. I'm looking forward to what he does next in AEW. What program would you put him in?
Very interesting. There's a lot of options. I don't know what's going to happen with this Adam Cole, Hangman Adam Page thing. I'm guessing that Adam Cole might win that title when all is said and done. I'd have no problem seeing Hangman Adam Page and Swerve Scott coming off that title feud for him to really kind of showcase what he's got. I want to see him against some of AEW's best.
Well, the question is, will Hit Row be joining him in AEW?
We'll see. A lot of heat on Top Dollar. I'd love to see it, but I'm not going to get my hopes up for it because that would be awesome. So I'm always here for a Hit Row reunion. But, Top Dollar, and I stand by Top Dollar. I love that he spoke out and talked his talk, but I don't think he made any friends in Jacksonville. But, we'll see. This is supposed to be the Progressive Wrestling Company, water under the bridge.
I'm afraid to ask, what did he do?
You don't remember that? The whole thing with the Jordans?
Oh, yeah.
The Young Bucks.
That's like, okay, I'm sorry. Compared to the Briscoes tweets we discussed earlier,
no. Nothing like that. Nothing like that. It was just a burn app drama, which shouldn't carry over to real life.
Yeah, I mean, come on. LL and Cannabis could run into each other at the club when they were feuding and still be okay.
100%, yeah.
I understand the power of kayfabe and the feuds. But no, I think Hit Row in my mind is the most recent what if as far as factions that were just getting going that we didn't really see fully taken to their full potential.
Yeah. I mean, I watched Hit Row and I thought we were witnessing something very special. Like, this is going to be the next legacy in terms of what the New Day brought. They're going to take that and bring it even further. And this is going to be the modern day New Day. And just kind of fizzled the second they got called up. And, stuff maybe outside of that could have affected it. But I just thought the presentation of the main roster never lived up to what it was in NXT. But that was always a problem with WWE and NXT.
No, I agree with that. But all in all, good Rampage tonight, solid. Wish it had been live. But yeah. Aside from that, though, it's good. It was solid. Still, man, and I think Biggie tweeted during Rampage that he was okay. Again, like, cannot stress enough. Anyone, if you did not watch tonight in real time, cannot stress enough just the cloud of worry that was going on when Biggie was stretchered off and we didn't know that he was okay.
Yes. It was a very uncertain time. You just never know. And that was on, I think, everybody's mind watching wrestling until they heard otherwise. It's just because it just did not look like a good month. Again, one of those things, I'm never going to watch that again. I just saw it once to see what the buzz was about because I actually missed it the first time it happened. And I just, horrible.
Well, I'm trying to remember the last thing that was like this. I remember what happened with Enzo at, what was it? Payback many years ago when he got knocked out. But yeah, it's like these things don't happen very often. When they do, it creates a very tense situation. Allison Tukwab, $9.99 right into the children's fund. Raj Giri is preparing to send his daughters to college. Why Aaron Rodgers paid Dante Adams with his money? Because he has a lot.
That's not how the NFL works. You've got to get the money from the players and owners' share of the NFL revenues, and they're getting the money that they're worth. Aaron Rodgers is worth a certain amount of money in terms of quarterback market. Devontae Adams, highest paid wide receiver in the league, as he should be. So Devontae Adams will get paid by the organization, as will Aaron Rodgers. And they're both going to get broken off because they're the best in the world. And we're going to beat the Bills in the Super Bowl next year.
There you go. So you're going to get 2K22. I think there's cross-platform play. We should try and get something going.
That'd be fun.
With the wrestling journalists, and we should try and get a tournament going with our, but only with creator wrestlers. So you as the African Blackhawk, me as Glenergy.
African Blackhawk's about to wash all you guys. Oh yeah, nobody's gonna touch the African Blackhawk. Nobody.
I hear Africa has the biggest Blackhawks.
Oh yeah, West Africa, to be specific.
Jax Callens, $5 saying broken neck. Austin's career and many others didn't work for years. I pray for him. Serious injury. I mean, look, number one thing that matters is that Big E is conscious, is that he's has movement, and it's not about how soon is he gonna be back in the ring. I mean, let's just hope he continues to be okay for the time being, one day at a time.
Seems to be in good spirits, and I'm just hoping the best for him.
Absolutely. So on that note, everybody have a great weekend. We will catch you back here next time on the Wrestling Inc. podcast.